This is a one-speaker meeting. Please welcome our speaker tonight, Earl.
My name's Earl. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Earl.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for asking me to come share here. It's always an honor and a privilege to do this, particularly this room. This room holds a lot of emotion for me. A lot of my early sobriety was sitting in the back over there. Whatever seat was closest to the back door was where I liked to sit. Okay, so if I just became overly terrified at any moment, I could just and be out of here. You know? Which was pretty often. Anyway, there's a lot of people in this room that mean a great deal to me. So it's an emotional night for me. I'll try to hold it together, not make a fool out of myself. I did not start drinking until I was 12. I held off as long as I possibly could. I had been restless, irritable, and discontented for a long time prior to that. And I got shipped off to boarding school when I was a kid. I was the youngest and the smallest kid out of 250 boys. They scoured the earth to find 250 of the brightest, most disturbed young boys they could find. It was like a Lord of the Flies in this joint. It was a crazy place. First week there, I'm going to get sober fast. First week there, I met Tiny. Every high school's got a guy named Tiny. Tiny beat the snot out of me because I had attacked him. You know, it's like when frightened, I attack. You know what I mean? I don't know what else to do. I'm not a tough guy or a bad guy. I never have been. I never will be. But if you scare me, I have a tendency to assault you. So I assaulted Tiny, which had no effect on him whatsoever. And he said, "You got a lot of guts, kid." And then he beat the crap out of me. And as I'm taking the beating, I'm thinking, this is going pretty good. Because I was terrified of him, and he didn't know that. My violence had masked my fear. So my first tool for living was when frightened, attack. They won't know how scared you really are. Hey. Wow, just face after face. Wayne, how you doing, man? Jesus Christ. Hey, it works, let me tell you, because I'm seeing faces in here, right? No, not a shot in hell. And here we you know? And here we are, man. Starting right up here. And so I went back to my dorm room, and word spread across this campus like, you know, in 30 minutes. Watch out for this little Hightower kid. He's a maniac. He attacked Tiny, right? So, I mean, what I am is a frightened child, and what I have is a reputation as a maniac, right? So the cool guys came around. And Matt, this guy named Matt, came by my room, and he said, "You want to smoke a joint?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And I didn't even know what he was talking about. What I heard was, "Do you want to hook up with us?" Because I was alone in the universe as far as I could tell. You know, my life was spiraling rapidly towards the rate I was going. I wasn't going to make it to 13. I mean, I'm fine 1 minute, the next minute I'm in this, you know, thrown away by my family, shipped off to school. The next minute I'm being, you know, beat within an inch of my life by, you know, a very large person. It's just going downhill. So do you want to smoke some weed? Sure, right? So we pick up Steve, who's got a Tupperware container full of cheap red wine. No grapes involved red wine, you know what I mean? That fortified, you know, little mad dog, right? We get behind the dorm, 2 13-year-olds and a 12-year-old, and the joint comes by, and I take a hit off the joint, and it burned my lungs, you know, and I thought, I hate that. And then the wine came along and took a pull on the wine, burned my stomach, and I thought, I don't get it, man. I do not, and it happened. That thing that makes me bodily and mentally different from my fellows occurred, and suddenly I was comfortable standing where I was standing, doing what I was doing with the people I was doing it with, and I'd never felt like that before in my life. I don't know, is it the pot, is it the wine, is it the fact that I'm standing here with my 2 very close personal friends, Matt and Steve, because I'm feeling that connection, and I don't care. I mean, my information in the beginning was, and I gotta honor the truth of my life, and the truth for me is that in the beginning, I smoked a little weed, drank a little red wine, felt better than I ever felt before, and nothing bad happened. Nobody went to the nut house. Nobody went to jail. Nobody died. All those things were gonna happen, but that wasn't my experience at that moment. This is feel better than you've ever felt before, and get up the next morning, get your little books, and shuffle off to class like nothing happened. I'm in. So, I mean, it was a humble beginnings, pot and wine. 13 was pills. Only reason I took a pill is the guy said, would you like a couple of pills? And I said, yes, I would. 20 minutes later, I'm laying on the floor, and I'm very, very happy there. So I got strung out on Tuinol, Plastidil, Seconal, all that stuff, right? And look at the nods going in and here. People are like, oh, Seconal. There's I don't even know why they made Tuinol. I mean, the only purpose for Tuinol is if you feel like you need to melt today. Wake up in the morning, take a couple of Tuinol, and just right to the floor. 14 with psychedelics. Dropped acid with Debbie. Debbie was a bad girl. Debbie was. I had a lot of respect for Debbie, man. Debbie, I was up for anything Debbie was interested in. And Debbie said, "You want to drop some acid?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And so she took out a lipstick tube and spun it up, and there was a little pill on the end of it, and I just took it and swallowed it. And she said, "Did you take that whole thing?" And I said, "Yes, I did." I said, "I did," and "Yes, Debbie." And she said, "That's 3 hits of white lightning." And I went, "All right, I don't know." Needless to say, the next couple of days were very interesting. Nothing's ever really been the same. But about, 650 acid trips later, I get classified legally insane by the military, but that's a whole other story. 15, I start shooting dope. The only reason I'm shooting dope is because I'm in a boat in Marina Del Rey, not far from here, and a lovely girl named Cammie, lovely girl, said, "Would you like me to stick this in your body?" And I said, "Well, of course I would, Cammie." And so she hit me, and it was one of those shots where you just go, right? And on the way down, I'm thinking, if I'm not dead, I'm doing that again, because that was nice. And then 16 started hitting the nut house. Got locked up at 16, got locked up at 17, escaped from the nut house at 17, hit the streets for 3 years doing what we do to stay drunk and loaded on a daily basis. I thought it was me and Jack Kerouac, you know what I mean, on the road, and it was going to be romantic and dramatic and, the stuff of, lore. It was great tales would be told. It wasn't like that at all. It was dark and miserable and ever increasing. The loneliness was ever increasing. And it just became a darker and a darker world for me. And I just, and drinking and using became more and more core and central to what I was doing in my life. And everything else was revolving around it. By the time I was 16 and a half years old, a guy called me an alcoholic, and my reaction was, "What's your point?" I mean, if that's what this is, okay, then we can call it that. But knowing I'm an alcoholic doesn't mean I'm changing a thing. This is what I do. If I wasn't drinking, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. It's how I get out of the house. It's how I have conversations. It's how I get to sleep at night. It's how I deal with any feeling that ever comes up at all. If it's a good feeling, I like to enhance it. If it's a bad feeling, I like to shut it down. I don't know about just riding the emotional wave of a normal man. I don't know anything about it. When I was 20, I got diagnosed to have malignant cancer, flew back to LA. They did major surgery on my upper back, told me I needed to get my affairs in order. I mean, I was like a 19-year-old, 20-year-old drug addict. What affairs, you know what I mean? It's like I had to make a couple of calls, you know what I mean? I did not have a lot going on. They did the nuclear medicine thing. I beat the cancer thing. I'm a long-term cancer survivor now. I'm 22. I was in a plane crash. My mother, my father, my little sister all died in the crash. I survived. Fractured my skull, my back in 3 places, crushed my arm, my leg. And I laid in the mud on a mountain in Mexico and watched my family bleed to death in front of me. And I shut it down. I said, I'll never, ever love another human being again as long as I live, and there's no way I'm ever going to tell you who I am. So there's no way you're going to love me. I'm out. I'm out. I've never really been any good at this thing called life. I've never really been any good at socializing, at being with other people. I watch people chit-chat. I watch people have conversations and talk. I'm just not any good at it. I like to be high as I can possibly be all the time. You needn't confuse me with someone who's interested in how your day is going. I don't care about your day. I don't care if you're having a good day or a bad day. If you have something that I want, I will talk to you and try to figure out a way to get it from you. If not, move on. I have no interest in connecting. I'm bad at it. And after the plane crash and watching them die, I thought, I renounced God. I renounced any connection to other human beings. And went on my last run. It lasted for 6 years. I was sober on 3 occasions, and that was in a bootleg sanitarium in Hollywood where they'd strap you to a gurney, shoot you full of anticonvulsants, and let you rock for 72 hours. At the end of it, they'd send you home or to the morgue, and they didn't really give a shit which way you went. They had their dough. And I remember in 1978, I'm strapped to this gurney. I'm kicking like a dog again. And I've had it, man. I'm just beat to death. And I reintroduced myself to this God I had forsaken on that mountain in Mexico. And I said, you know what? You get me out of this sane and alive, and I'll never, ever drink or use again as long as I live, because my ass is kicked. I can't take the violence. I can't take the pain. I can't take the soul sickness. I can't take the madness. I can't take this anymore. I can't do it. And I promise, and I meant it with every fiber of my being, I will not drink again. And I got up off of that gurney, man, and I went out there fully and completely committed to my innermost self not to drink. But I didn't know what alcoholism was. I didn't really know what I was up against. I knew I was an alcoholic, and I knew that I didn't want to die in the gutter, but I didn't really know my enemy. And I went out and I drank for 2 more years because I couldn't stop drinking. And when it was all done, I was the day before my 28th birthday. I was 215 pounds. I had hair out like this, beard like this. I was psychotic, and I don't use the term loosely. And I couldn't distinguish between the true and the false. So I'd come to, and I didn't know, did I do that? Did somebody tell me that? Did I dream that? I didn't know. It was just all this crazy, mad blur. And I'd broken 74 bones. I had over 650 stitches in me. They were deciding whether or not to charge me with attempted murder because I had attempted to murder David Luboff, who was screaming at the ambulance when they took me away, "You don't understand the ramifications of the situation." I don't know why I remember that, but I remember exactly what he said. And I remember as I'm laying in the ambulance, strapped down, they're driving me off, and he's yelling, "You don't understand the ramifications of the situation." I'm laying there, out of my mind, thinking, you know he's right. I don't, man. I don't get it. I'm a bright boy, and look at my life. You know, it's not like there's an area. Everywhere I look at my life, there's nowhere I can look and say, well, we're doing pretty good over here. Let's focus on that. There isn't anything. It's just all just on fire. And I ended up in a program on a cot. There were 21 cots on each side of the room, 42 cots with sheets drawn between them. And how you got your cot was you stayed in it. Right? You left the cot, another guy'd come in and take your cot, man. That was your cot. And I was in there for 42 days, and it was never slept. It's like it was, you know, Dante's Inferno in there. You know what I mean? It's 42 guys off the streets, kicking like dogs. Somebody's freaking out every moment of every night and every day. You know what I mean? You just got used to the screaming, you know? But it kind of leveled the pressure out, though, because that's all that was going on inside your head. You know what I mean? And everybody's screaming out here, too. It was like, well, you know, kind of comfortable. You know what I mean? And I came out of there, and my counselor, Ray, said, if you don't want to die, you're going to have to go to Alcoholics Anonymous, Earl, because it's the only place a guy like you's got a shot. And I said, okay. I'd been beaten into a state of reasonableness by my alcoholism. I got here destroyed. I got here with no place else to go, which is really a wonderful way to get here. You know what I mean? Because it's like you can't come into, you know, a meeting and go, I don't think so. You know, I mean, if you had said to me, AA meetings are from noon to midnight every day and you have to go to one a day, I would have had no scheduling conflicts. It was just, all right. I didn't come here with a day runner, you know what I mean? There's nothing. I had nothing, you know? And I came in and I sat in the back of the room, and a guy got up and he shared his experience, strength, and hope, and it absolutely floored me. It was like he reached right inside my chest, because he talked openly and honestly about his feelings as a man, and he also talked, he said, and I don't care whether you like what I got to say or not. You don't like it, go to another meeting. Right? And I thought, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard, because this guy's not selling me something. He's sharing it with me. If I want it, I can have it. It's for free. And I thought, that's cool. I'm coming back. And I've never left. I've been here for, last November, I celebrated 26 years sober, and I couldn't stay sober for a day. I couldn't do it. The reason I'm 26 years sober is because of Alcoholics Anonymous, period. That's it. That's why. I came into these rooms completely alone, no family, no friends, no tools for living, no idea how to be in the world, no idea how to have a healthy relationship on any level whatsoever, and I was raised in AA. You know, they said, get a sponsor. And I said, what's a sponsor? And they said, a sponsor is somebody who's got what you want. And I said, well, I would like to drink. So maybe it's a little early to be throwing the ball back in my court, you know what I mean? I have since come to believe that what I want a sponsor who's got what he wants. That's the best definition of happiness I know, wanting what you have. And I looked around and there was this lunatic speaking in AA. He was a lunatic. He was 23 mental institutions. He's the only guy I ever met who got evicted from the nut house. They finally just threw him out. They said, you have to leave. If you don't leave now, you're going to be one of those guys that never leaves. And he'd been sober for 10 years when I came in. And the late, great Donald Madden. Yeah, and and I said, will you sponsor me? And he said, yeah, I'll sponsor you. You don't have to like what I tell you, and you don't have to think it's a good idea. You just have to do it. And I thought, well, rude, but all right. And they'd be going to coffee and stuff, and they'd be talking after meetings, and I'd be listening to them. And I remember the day I said, I started to chime in, and I went, I have a thought on that. And he went, no. No, we've seen the benefit of your best thinking, Earl. We don't want any of that. And I thought, well, that's fair too. And he showed me how to be in Alcoholics Anonymous. He showed me. He didn't tell me. He showed me. He said, if it's an 8 o'clock meeting, you get there at 7:30. Because the new guy's going to show up early because he's got no place else to go. And you want to welcome him, and you want to make sure he's got a seat. And it was always about being there for the other guy, being there for the other guy, getting out of self, more God, out of self, more God, service, get out of self, service. Things that had never occurred to me at all. We get there early, we set up the meeting, we're there for the newcomer. If the newcomer doesn't have a seat, you give him yours. And you move up to the front of the room, And it was just so foreign to me, and I did what he told me to do because I didn't want to die. It's real simple. I didn't want to die. I would tell him all the time. We went to the Five and Dime. It just started. The Five and Dime Friday night Five and Dime meeting. It just started. I was the first. I went in and he goes, "This is a great meeting. You're going to make the coffee here for the next year." I said, "You're out of your mind. I don't even know these people. Coffee for a year." And he said, "Fine, drink." And I remember, and I looked at him and said, "What is it with you people? I'm trying to have a conversation with you. You go right to the fine drink thing. Fine, I'll make the coffee." Made the coffee there every Friday night, and it felt better every Friday night when I went home. Couldn't put it together. Out of self, thinking about the coffee, making sure the little napkins are there, the little swizzle things, getting all my stuff together, you know what I mean? It was like, and I was crazy, so, it was maniacal. I didn't do anything, calmly or casually. I was like guarding the coffee table in the back. Some guy'd, swizzle his coffee and put the swizzle down on the actual coffee table, and I would just, not a trash can. And they were like going, "Dude, you gotta have the coffee guy not drink his product. You gotta calm the coffee guy down. He's scaring away people from the meeting." Because I was scared to death because I had no place else to go, and I had to find a way to make this work. And then I found out, you know what? There's a book called Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Blue book. I had one somewhere, and a friend of mine and I said, we should check this out. And I thought, if you insist, But I figure 7 to 9 meetings a week, calling my sponsor every day, never turning down an AA request, working a good program. And an old-timer pointed out to me that I was not working a program. I had a great fellowship, vital to my recovery. But that the program was found in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and if I didn't start reading that, I was probably going to die. He saw me come in, wasn't going to stand a chance. And I remember thinking, fine, you old bastard, you know what I mean? We got our big books together, and then we got our big books and these tapes. This big book comes alive by Joe and Charlie. We got all this stuff, and we're all set, and we're going, all right, let's check this out, right? So we opened the book up, and we're reading this stuff, and it was hysterical. I wish I'd had a camera on us, because we'd be sitting there, and every 5 minutes, one of us would go, "Hey, you know that thing they say in AA? Here it is, right here." And they kind of explain it, too. You know what I mean? There it is. Every 5 minutes of us goes, well, there's that other thing right over there. You know that thing they got on the wall? There it is, right there on the thing. And what we found out was that there's this triangle with a circle around it, and it's an ancient spiritual symbol. It stands for mind, body, and spirit, brought together as a whole human being. And therein lies the balance that I've sought my whole life and I've never had, drunk or sober. Alcoholics Anonymous adopted that symbol. It's unity, service, and recovery. Unity's the body, I bring it here. I couldn't get sober, but we seem to be able to together. I must be in the company of my fellows. When guys go out and use and come back, the majority of the guys that I talk to, when I say what happened, they say, well, first I stopped going to meetings. Okay, go to meetings. Because my ticket's punched, man. You know what I mean? I would be the kind of guy who would say, fine, I'm going out. I'll be back next week. You know what I mean? I'd go out and I'd get like 4 minutes of this is pretty cool. And then minute 5 would be like, uh-oh. And just from there. There's no guarantee I'm getting back. None. It's been 26 years. What's going to happen inside me? Forget it. Right? So unity's the body. I bring it here. I go to regular meetings regularly. That's what I do. First step, first word, we. Right? So I come to meetings. I go to regular meetings regularly. I do the stuff that's available in here. I get commitments to get out of self, be of service, have a new experience of how things work. Get a sponsor to take me through the second side of the triangle, recovery, which is of the mind, the greater aspect of my disease. Because this isn't about stopping drinking for me. This isn't about stopping. It's about how do I stay stopped. And the only way I'm going to stay stopped is if I can get comfortable sober. And the only way I can be comfortable sober is to be relieved of the obsession of the mind. I cannot be walking around having that beast whispering in my ear. Because it whispers the craziest shit. I'll be sweeping up in the back of a meeting and my brain will go, I believe this is the day. Have you seen the apple martini? I don't believe we got one of those. And they look refreshing. And there's a lovely little just whispering. I'm sweeping up back of a meeting like, safe as you can get. Sponsor standing right over there, sweeping up. You know, Beast just says, you know, you're very upset. You've been very stressed out. I believe it's a medical issue. It's a medical issue. And we need to unwind this spring. You and I will go down. There's a little jazz lounge at the Lowe's Hotel right by the beach. Jazz, very sophisticated music. We'll get this legal, perfectly legal. We're not going to break any laws. We'll have one apple martini. That's all. Refreshing. We'll unwind this spring because I'm here for you, because I love you, or we're going to be all right. And I'm listening. You know, and it's just and let's just keep this between you and me. And I'm carved out, man. I'm carved out. And it says, oh, your sponsor's looking at you. Smile and wave, smile and wave. Good, good. You know, and the thing is that the conversation the beast has with me is a conversation that's perfectly reasonable for a normal man. What I have to constantly be reminded of is that ain't me. I'm bodily and mentally different from my fellows. I have a fundamentally different reaction to alcohol when you put it in me than the normal guy who can do that. Can go listen to jazz, have an apple martini. Because the only reason, what is one apple martini going to do? It's not going to do what I'm there to do. All one apple martini has to do is it has to cut me off from you because I've had a drink now. So it's done its job. And just shift my consciousness just enough to say, well, that went well, 2 would be fine. Because the second one, and then watch the clock, because any minute, we're on our way downtown. And nothing ever good has come out of me going downtown. Nothing. I've never come out of downtown thinking, you know, that was rewarding. It's not what happens, man. It never goes that way. So the unity's the body, I bring it here. Recovery's of the mind, I got to work the 12 steps. That's what they're for. The 12 steps are designed to relieve me of the obsession of the mind, to make me comfortable sober, so that I can walk there as the free man, no longer having to fight the beast off with one arm and live my life with one arm. Be free. So I work all 12 steps. Step 1, what's the problem? Lack of power is my dilemma. If that's my problem, what's my solution? Step 2, a power greater than myself that could restore me to sanity, soundness of mind, relieve me of the obsession of drink and use. Step 3 says I got to make a decision about that information. What I do is I get on my knees and I turn my will and my life over to the care of a God I may or may not understand. I pray to a God I don't understand. I believe in a God I don't understand. I see evidence of that God on a daily basis. On a daily basis. 4 and 5 is me, 6 and 7 is God, 8 and 9 is you. There's nobody else to play with. That's the team. 4 and 5 swallow large chunks of truth about myself in a 4-column inventory and resentment, fear, and sex. Before God, I read this to another individual. 6 and 7, I hook it back up with God, asking God to remove the defects of character because I will remove the wrong stuff. 8 and 9, I'm very, very sorry. Here's your money. Back in the house. It's not complicated. And to make amends means to change. So, you know, I'm sorry I stole your car. Here's the money for your car. And I'm not going to go steal your car and sell it to pay you for the car I stole from you. I'm not going to steal cars anymore. I'm out of that. 10, 11, and 12 keep me in the game. 10, me, 11, 11 God, 12 you. I continue to take personal inventory because I'm a work in progress. This is the way I'm moving slowly forward. I'm changing slowly over time. And the process of my recovery has become the process of my life. My scar tissue and my healing are together now. They're joined. They're entwined. They're the same thing. My redemption as a human being is in my service to others. Not stuff I would have never, ever come up with. Ever come up with these ideas. 11, I seek God through prayer and meditation. I pray for knowledge of his will and the power to carry that out, and I meditate to quiet the mind so that when the answers come, I can hear them. Because God doesn't talk to me through the radio anymore. You know what I mean? There's a sense of things that comes up. You know what I mean? You sense it, you feel it, you have an intuition that leads you in a direction that's, because it's not about right or wrong so much for me as it is about actions that are harmful to self or others or actions that are beneficial to self or others, and trying to move in the right, chop the wood and carry the water of that one direction of benefit to self and others rather than the other way, to move in that direction. So I do that, and then having had a spiritual awakening is the result of working the steps. It was the whole point to relieve the obsession of the mind so I can walk the earth a free man. I can be of service. How can I help? Not because I'm a good guy, but because I don't want to die drunk. I want to have my life be something of value. When I was 5 years sober, I'd just been to meetings every day. And I heard about this South Bay Roundup in Redondo Beach. And I called up Donald and I said, can I go to that? It's like a roundup, First, we're rounding up. We're all getting round up, And he said, sure, you can go. So I got my little car and I drove down there and I got in and I paid my little registration thing. And the guy said, there's a big meeting going on. Shh, go in the back. I said, all right. So I went in the back and I looked up, 2,500 alcoholics sitting in one room. This energy of 2,500 of us sitting quietly in a room is amazing. And it just pinned me to the wall. I'd never seen anything like it. And there was a guy up at the podium talking. And I thought, who is that guy? 2,500 people to pick from, and they went, let's get that guy. And he's up there, and his name was Franklin W. from Olive Branch, Mississippi. This is 21 years ago. And he said, I'll sum up Alcoholics Anonymous for you in 6 words. Trust God, clean house, help others. Blew the top of my head off. I had a spiritual experience standing there, cried all the way home. Got home, called up Donald, and went, we got to trust God, clean house, help others. I was flipped out. Because all the things for 5 years I'd been hearing in meetings, hearing over coffee, hearing walking on the beach, listening to other A&A guys, talking stuff over, right? It all just went click. It all made sense. Me, God, and you. Trust God. It didn't say faith. Have faith in God. It said trust God. You make a conscious decision to trust. Your experience will bring faith to you. If you go ahead and do that, clean your house, and then go out and help others in that order, just like the steps, just like what the steps tell us to do, right? And it changed me, right? And I still have that cassette. Back then it was cassettes. Old person, I'm an old person. Cassettes, right? And young people are going, cassettes? Yeah, cassettes. Very big. I was there for 8-track, too. Yeah. 16 years later, I'm 21 years sober. I get asked to be the keynote speaker at the 58th annual Texas State Conference of AA, some ridiculous thing, right? And I got my little suit on. I go walking in this room in that year. It was in Austin, Texas. And I go walking in, and there's a guy sitting there, and his name's Searcy. Searcy at the time was 91 years old. He'd been sober for 58 years, and he had been married to the same woman for 59 years. And he was sharp as a tack. And he's sitting over there in this room, and then he goes, Earl, come here, I'm telling a story. I went, all right. I went over and I sat down next to Searcy, and he said, so I'm talking to Bill and Franklin. And I went, hold it. You mean like Bill Wilson, co-founder of AA, Bill? And Franklin Williams, Olive Branch, Mississippi? And he said, yeah, I was sitting there talking. Turns out Franklin was one of the first circuit speakers that would go around the country carrying a message, trying to create some kind of continuity in what was going on around the country. And he and Bill and Searcy they vacationed together with their wives and stuff. And Franklin W. said to Bill W., Bill, what is the heart and soul of this program that we must protect for the generations that are yet to come? Us. And without hesitation, Bill Wilson told Franklin W., that's easy, Franklin. Trust God, clean house, and help others. So 16 years later, I heard where Franklin got that. Bill Wilson told Franklin W. and many others to trust God, clean house, help others. Franklin W. told me and many others, trust God, clean house, help others. I'm telling you and many others, trust God, clean house, help others. It's a short lineage we got here. We're 71 years and change old. That's it. This is a brand new thing, this Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's such a remarkable thing. AA. It's a remarkable thing. And you learn to go with the flow. You know what I mean? You go with the flow around here. This is the thing. The way I look at it is this. We're brothers and sisters. We should be taking care of each other. We shouldn't be gossiping about each other and talking shit about each other and getting one up on one another and doing this. And we're brothers and sisters. If we're not going to look out for each other, who's going to look out for us? We got to look out for each other. We got to take care of each other. Ours is a code of love and tolerance toward others. That's what the big book says. So if you're new, congratulations. I'm so happy that you're here. If you are a returning person, right, I am so glad that you are here, period. I have no other thoughts or opinions on. I don't care if you've come back once or you've come back 1,000 times. I don't care, because it's none of my business. That's God's business. And if you've come back and anybody gives you any shit about it, tell them, you know, thanks for sharing that with me, but you might know this guy, Earl. Earl told me to tell you to fuck off. That is not what we do. That is not, I don't know what God's will is for me. How the hell am I going to know what it is for somebody else? And how do I not know that one of those wonderful people that took chips here tonight, right, isn't going to be one of the people that's going to get up at the podium when I'm in the barrel 6 months from now, who's up at the podium sharing for 10 minutes and saves my ass? I'm not kidding you. I can't tell you how many times it's happened along the way where I've been sitting there thinking, the next guy that gets up and says, rarely have we seen I'm just, I can't take it anymore. And then somebody with a woman with 2.5 years will get up and talk about God in a way I've never heard anybody talk about God and blow the top of my head off again. The only way I can have those experiences is if I'm here. I have to be here to have those experiences. I have to be here to look around the room and see people who I've known for a long time. To see Wendy sitting over there, to see so many of these guys sitting over there. People that I love that I didn't even know were going to be here walked in very casually, and there were people who knew they were coming and didn't tell me. That I love. I can say, I'm not alone anymore. I'm connected. I'm married. My wife's sitting up front. I'm married to someone I actually know. Never been true. We have a house. I got like 2 minutes. I got to tell you, we got this house. This is how life's getting. The buzz, if you're new and you're thinking a buzz is over, think again, man. What you get in here is the most amazing thing in the world. You get to marvel in the ordinary here. Think about what that means. It doesn't feel you marvel at the ordinary. We bought a house. We're living in a house. I'm thinking, okay, I live in a house now. We go there and there's a front lawn. I'm looking at the front lawn. I'm thinking, apparently this is mine. I got to take care of this. And I'm looking all up and down the street, and there's all these very nice lawns. And I'm thinking, this has got to live, because if this dies, they know, that's how they find the addicts. You know what I mean? Right? Pretty lawn, dead lawn. There they are. I got to keep this alive, so I turn on the water, and I'm throwing the hose around. And I got the water going, and I'm thinking it's something like this, And the light's coming through the sycamore trees, and it's hitting the plants, and the water's kind of dancing and doing that little prismatic thing on the leaves, and I'm thinking, well, that's kind of cool, kind of liking that, right? And then I realized, this stuff actually is alive, and if I'm not mistaken, this stuff, it's breathing in the carbon dioxide, and it's breathing out oxygen. I, on the other hand, am standing right here breathing in the oxygen and out the carbon dioxide. We got a little thing going on here. I'm catching a little buzz now. Now it's like, all right, here's a little more for you, my brother. Here's a little more for you, my sister. I'm like, yeah, watering the lawn. Guy drives by, sees man on lawn watering plants. Is not what's happening. What's happening is the drug addict's on his front lawn hanging out with a few of his friends. That's what's going on. I don't have to water my lawn anymore. I get to. because of the power of choice. Choice has been restored to me. I get to choose. I get to decide how I experience my life. I get to water my lawn. I get to stand in line. I get to wait amongst my fellows and do what needs to be done during the course of a day. I get to get out of myself and be of service to other people. I don't have to. I'm given the gift and the honor of being able to do that. I get to live between those right now. Because there ain't nothing. Al Signs, that's who showed me that. Get in there. That's what he told me when he was my second sponsor. He said, all you got to do is get in between these. And I went, huh? Now I get it. There isn't anything but now. This is where our life is. This is it. I can't love you any other time than now. I can't have any honor or dignity as a man except right now. I can't grow. I can't learn. I can't be available to learn. Humility is the willingness to learn. I can't have any of that except for right now. And if I get sober as a sober man on this path, I can choose that for myself in my life. So if you're new, there's a big buzz ahead. And it gets better and better and better. I promise. Thanks.
Okay. I would like to thank Jennifer for Chapter 5 and Ruth for the 12 traditions. Are there any secretary announcements?
Alcoholic? Hi. Well, I got you in a good mood. Can we have 5 volunteers to do cleanup after? Because we don't have someone. Boy, I knew this would be easy. 1, 2. We can all meet in the back there, and we'll organize this. Real quick, 12 plus years ago, I'm at some hotel in New York. I'm in a bad way. Earl H looks at me. He says, "Listen, you little bastard. He's just thrown me over a glass table. We've like scuffled." He goes, "You're not going any goddamn place. I have your wallet. I have your shoes. I'm so sick of your bullshit. This is not the kind, loving, trust God helps. You aren't going a fucking place. I'm taking a shower. You've got me exhausted. I haven't eaten. You are sick. Sick as they come. Don't move or I'll knock you out." I go, "You shouldn't have left your shoes and your wallet out because we're about the same size. I took right off in his shit." I want to thank God and AA for Earl H. Please join me. And let's thank Laura for leading a great meeting tonight. As for our newcomers out of towners and chips and cakes, Michael.
Newcomers tonight were Doug, Nate, Jenna, Laura, and Marcos. Welcome home. Keep coming back. Out of towners, Judy from Las Vegas. I think it was somebody else too, right? Somebody else? No? Well, welcome. Tips. 30 days. Mike, Alex, and Jay. 50 days. Grant, Heather, and Eric. 90 days. Adam and Ray. 9 months. Nobody for 6 months. Next time. 9 months. Julia and Kelly. And birthday tonight, Carlos, 1 year, and Amy for 3 years. Thank you very much.
Can those who have commitments at this meeting stand up and check in, and we will clap for you one and all afterwards.
I'm Jim, an alcoholic.
Hi,
Jay.
And your H&I representative. And at H&I, we have to collect money to provide literature and panels and people in places where they can't get out. Perhaps they've had an apple martini, much like that. And, they found themselves strapped down to a bed and, haven't discovered yet that they're mentally and bodily different than their fellows. So we try to help spread the message to recover. And it's a great program. Use it generously. And if you want to get involved, then yeah, thank you.
John, I'm a sheep on it.
Hi, John.
I'm Melissa.
Melissa.
Damon, I do chips.
David. Orion, okay. Mike.
I have
do that. All right, Dana.
An alcoholic named Dave.
Dave.
I have a cold, but I recorded this meeting. If you'd like a CD of Earl's Talk, come see me afterwards. And I'll have one of tonight's next week, and I have several of Earl's Talks from various years. And even Donald Madden. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, one and all. And thanks for letting me be of service.
This has been your regular Wednesday night speaker meeting. Thank you for coming and keep coming back. Now, after a moment of silent meditation for the alcoholic still stuffers, would Jennifer lead us in the Lord's Prayer? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Keep coming back, it works if you work it.